permits that are in the review process, it appears that we're going to enter a pretty busy time, and that may, in this case, fit real well.
It could work just, I mean, it's going to be as needed, and it's going to be as available. Our building officials would be sent overseas.
You just said the magic words, as needed, as available.
Right.
Works for me.
And then the financial element of it is true cost recovery.
Right. So if we use Canvas personnel, we will pay their wages and benefits. And if they use ours, they'll pay our employees' wage and benefits. So it's just another opportunity for partnering. And again, I thank you for the compliments, but it was not my idea. It was the two building officials from both cities.
Load leveling is a good thing.
With that, that's all I have, sir.
Moving forward. Chief?
Have two agenda bills. They're similar, except for there's two different dates. One is for the primary for the EMS levy of August 17th, and the other one's for the general election on November 2nd. The reason I'm submitting two of them is that if the one levy fails, which I hope it doesn't, in August, we're still able to have the election in November. There's just not enough time, the number of days and everything, to submit and be it on the November ballot. So that's why I submitted two resolutions to the City Council.
If it succeeds in the primary, then
we yank it.
It's easy to yank it.
Yep. Yep. That, and I talked to another fire district, and that's what they've done in the past. So I thought that was the way to go. We had some concerns, RJ and I, as far as what do we do if it doesn't, pass in August, and still able to get in November and still have it before year's end, and then that's what they opted to do. So I thought that was the best choice to take, was to do that. Any questions on the EMS levy? Yes.
Just one, following up on our conversation from this afternoon. I was concerned that 50 cents is an awfully low rate per thousand, because that 50 cents is depreciated 178.5% since it first went into effect in 1980. And that means that you've lost 80% of the purchasing power in that 50 cents. However, Chief pointed out to me that valuations have gone up. And so the taxes went up, the collections went up. He doesn't see it as a problem. I guess the question I've got is, and this is a very, very real possibility, that valuations could continue to decline. And if they do we want to be committed to a 6-year time frame for this thing?
Well, state law only allows us to go up to 50 cents. So we're pretty much limited at 50 cents.
I understand, but the 6-year time frame is my concern. Do we want to go for 6 years? Do we want to commit ourselves to 6 years, or
For a shorter period of time?
Historically,
Or
that's how
short
it's
period
been
of time.
done.
Yeah. One of the, I guess, relief valves that we have in this instance that the city of Washougal has, the other jurisdictions don't have. We also have at the end of 2013, we've got the levy lift that
Right.
comes up as well. That could be altered, still has to go before the voters. But if
Okay.
for some reason that 10 cents per 1,000 isn't adequate, it can be increased to 15 to 20 to 25.
I throw that out as a caution
On
for
paper.
someone who's looked at these things over the years. But I'm perfectly happy to take the advice of people who've dealt with it in Washougal.
I think there's the political situation here is that if you ask for an increase in 2010, I think you're cutting your own throat.
I do too.
And so I think that saying and actually holding it to what it was 6 years ago is helpful in terms of passing the very necessary funding.
And I agree. My concern was committing ourselves to not being able to do another one for 6 years, because if the valuations decline.
The fact that we do it for 6 years does not prevent us from going back in 3.
Although we couldn't in this form anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, because we're bumping our limit as it is. The only way we could do it is through another levy lift specifically,
Okay,
because we're
we've got a
already
safety
topping out.
valve. That takes care of my concern.
Right.
Well,
Since the fact that we have Lloyd sitting here, why did, we have an option that we could have put this on infinity, just went on. Not, we don't have to go back every 6 years and get the voters. Why, at the time when this was all put into place, why did we opt for the 6-year number? Do you know? Do you recall?
Right offhand, I cannot remember.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I think the
that's
department had
regarding
a strong
council.
role in it, and my guess is it was longer than the 1 or 2 years, which is just constantly doing this, and forever seems like an awful long time.
Yeah, because you had option, you could do it every 2 years, or you could go forever, so it was option.
And we've talked about, we've had discussions about making it a perpetual one, and at what time do you go back to the voters to do that, that you don't confuse the message to where this one ends up going down if we try and do it at the same time. So we've started that discussion of, if you were to do that, because there's, unless we're looking at getting rid of the system-wide for EMS, there's a lot of validity to basically kind of sort of just asking the voters if we can roll it into our taxable amounts, period. It's already in our limits.
Actually gives them a chance to say, no,
Exactly.
we need to change direction and go a different way. I mean, that is the chance that we play with. All 3 districts play that game every time it comes up.
Paul, did you have a question?
So, maybe I'm missing something here, but when, there should be no difference about 50 cents per $1,000 of assessed value if we do it every year or if we do it for 6 years, right? Because we're not talking about an assessed value of 1 year continued, that same bill for 6 years?
Well, I
Or is
think,
it-
RJ, you can correct me, but typically, if we go out there now, it's gonna increase to 50 cents or 50 cents a thousand. It's gonna be like 40 more thousand than it was this year, just because of the appraisal value. And over time, if the appraisal value of the city goes up, that 50 cents actually goes down. If we go after it 1 or 2 years, it jacks it back up to 50 cents.
I mean, one of the things we are kind of talking about, what Mayor Barrett mentioned before, is the evaluation of assessed values go down again this next year. We're actually going to come out, we're hitting our max that we can charge in this. So.
There's a statutory limit as to how much per thousand you can charge. And if assessed values keep going down, we will bump up against that. Partially because of actually because the Fort Vancouver Library operational funding, which comes under that limit along with our own property taxes.
And that just got muddier. Sorry.
It does.
Okay. All right, I'm not sure if it really makes any difference for this, but as far as the issue of approving it every year versus approving it, I'd like to say, if we do it for 6 years like we're proposing right now, you propose it for 6 years, you take one house for X number of dollars, 50 cents per $1,000 of valuation, and you take that snapshot, and that's how much the bill comes for the tax dollars that goes specifically to EMS. Now, if the house is assessed at a higher value some other date, that changes. So the 50 cents per thousand is, anytime the house is reassessed by the county, if I understand correctly, then 50 cents per thousand of that number is the total tax bill. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So then the function of how often the EMS levy passes is irrelevant. As long as it's 50 cents per thousand, if it's the same rate, then it doesn't make any difference if it's every year or 6 years.